Hi everyone, it's Mr. Jacob from the Kansas City, Kansas Public Library at the Turner Branch, and I am back with another online homeschool program. Now, our last program was the first part of our Crazy Science, and this is part 2. Now, if you're watching this, you should have gotten a kit from the library. We had limited supplies, so if you ran out, I'm sorry. You are still welcome to watch, and if you look online, you can find a lot of these supplies. But if you have your kit, we asked you to save it for the video. So if you did that, I'm going to show you what's in here. So we open up and we've got 4 experiments. We have our instant worms. We have our windbag wonders. We have the exploding bag. And we have our Mentos in the balloon. So I'm going to put this back, and we will get started in just a second. So what I want you to go ahead and do is take this second to go ahead and set up all of your stuff if you haven't already. So what I want you to do is lay it out, make sure all of your experiments are together, and be sure you're ready to go, and then we will start. Make sure not to mix everything together though, okay? So I'm going to give you 1 second to do that. Okay, are you ready? If not, pause the video and we'll wait a little bit, but I'm going to go ahead and get started. So the first experiment we're going to do is called Windbag Wonders. So go ahead and look for your bag that has that. And take this out. Inside that bag will be this really long bag. Now I want you to flatten it out. Don't make sure it's not twisted or anything like this. We don't want that. But make sure it's all flattened out. And you will see one end is tied and the other one is not. I want you to lay your bag out to where it's all flat, and we're going to try to blow it up with one breath. So you guys want to try that? All right. Get ready to blow it. All right, ready? 1, 2. Remember, you have to blow up the whole thing with one breath. 1, 2, 3. And close the end. All right, so did it do it? No, not really. Did yours do it? Well, I'm guessing probably not. So how can we blow this bag up with just one breath? How do we do that? Well, I'll tell you what. Let's try it a different way. Go ahead and open it up again. And I want you to blow into it one breath, but instead of holding this right up to your mouth like this, so don't put your mouth on here, put your mouth here and hold it open like this. So remember, your mouth is going to be over here, not over here. So get ready, give a great big breath. Ready? 1, 2, 3. Let me try that again, one more time. The end of my bag get twisted. Ready? 1, 2, 3. Close the end. So did it do it this time? It did. So let me put out the air. We'll try it again. Hold the bag out like this. Make sure your mouth is this far away. Do not put it up against here. Out like this. Hold it wide open. Ready? 1, 2, 3. Well, there we go. Did yours work? If it didn't, just go ahead and keep trying. You might have to use a lot more air. Maybe have someone else try it. see if everybody else can do it. But go ahead and give it a shot. And I'm going to explain to you what is happening with this. And basically, this is something called positive airflow. So when you blow into the bag and you have it up against your mouth, the only air you're putting in there is the air from your lungs. But when you blow into it with your mouth away from that opening, we're surrounded by air or atmosphere. So when you blow into it, you're not just blowing the air from your lungs into the bag, your air is grabbing all the air around it, all the atmosphere, and dragging it with it. So you're actually putting a lot more air into that bag than what's coming out of your lungs. Now, this is actually something that firefighters do when they're trying to force smoke out of a building. They'll leave space between an opening and a fan, and again, that's called positive airflow. So if you guys want to try it a couple more times, make sure to see if it works. And when you're nice and ready to go on, when you're comfortable, head on to the next experiment. And that next experiment is instant worms. Now, when you pull out your bag, you should see a cup that's marked worm goo. And it'll have some gooey worm goo in there, just like this. You'll have another cup that says worm activator. Now here's the thing. I learned something new. I made your kits a long time ago, like a couple weeks ago. And they all look like this, the activator. It was these little round things. But when I went and looked at them, this was gone. And all that was inside were droplets of liquid. And I didn't know this, but apparently the activator somehow just evaporated and turned into a liquid. So I don't know why it did that. These are solid little round white dots, but I need to look into that because that's very interesting. I had no idea they would do that. But even if that's what happened with your kit, it's okay because we can still use it. It will still work. I've tried it out. So you got your worm goo, you have your activator, you'll have an eyedropper, and you need a cup of water. So if you want to go grab that real quick, we'll get started in just a second. All right, have you guys unpaused the video? You ready? All right, this is what I need you to do. Take the cup of water, pour it in the cup that says worm activator. So not the one with the goo. And stir it around. I'm going to use the other end of this to stir it around. We want it to dissolve. And all of it may not dissolve, but that's okay. And if yours doesn't have the little white rocks, if it just turned into a liquid, that's okay. It'll pretty much mix in with that water pretty easily. Now, once you do this, there's two ways you can do this. You can either just pour the liquid in like this, or you can take the eyedropper, tilt your cup like this so everything's in the corner so you can get all as much as you can. Put this in there, squeeze, and then suck up as much of the worm goo as you can. So I got a little bit in there. Let me try this again. The only problem with doing it this way is there might be air bubbles. We don't want air bubbles. Looks like I did a pretty good job there. So I'm going to show you what this looks like. But this goo, it's just like a slime. But we're going to take it and we're going to put it in the cup with activator. Now what I want you to do is if you use this, you're going to put this in the water and then squeeze it all out in one big stream if you can. We're going to give it a second, and then we're going to see what happens. And if you did it the other way, you can take the cup, it'll just take a second longer, and you can pour it in this way too. What I would like you to do is get it as a stream and not where it's dripping like what it's doing to me right now. But that's okay. We'll see if it worked. Okay. So let's see what happened. Go ahead and put your fingers in there so you can find anything. And pull it out. Well, this isn't a string, but you can see these little globule balls. So I'm going to try this a little differently. I'm going to try this to where you can watch it and you can actually see. This is the same stuff. It's the slime with food coloring. So you can do this with yours too. But I'm going to pour this in there. I want just a steady stream of it. And we'll give it a second. And we'll go ahead and pull it out. So what happened here? Why did that slime turn into this? It's kind of more of a solid. Well, let me explain what's going on. Let me get this off me. Ugh. So if you watched our last class, or part of it, you learned about polymers. We had a couple of different kinds of polymers. Well, this is another kind of polymer. So basically the powder, or yours might have been the liquid, but the white rocks that I had, that is something called sodium alginate, and that is a polymer. And if you remember, polymers are molecules that stretch. It's like when you have a balloon and you blow it up and it stretches out. Everything's made up of molecules, and those molecules stick together, and those polymers will stretch without breaking. And they stretch as much as they can before they break. But this is another type of polymer. So they stick together to form a chain, and they get really stretchy. Now, sodium alginate, which is what this is, it's actually something that comes from seaweed. And you actually might have eaten some of this before. They actually use it to make a lot of food like ice cream and fruit pies. Now, don't eat this. I don't want you to eat this. But that's what they use it for. Now, that sodium alginate, it immediately turned from a liquid into a solid when it touched the goo, the solution. Because that solution has calcium in it. And that calcium linked all those polymer chains together, and it made them connect. Now, if I were to take this out, and right now it's solid, but if I were to break an end, I can squeeze out some of that goo, because the inside hasn't absorbed all this stuff, and it's still liquid, it's still slimy. But if I put it back in the water with the sodium alginate and take it out, the end will have sealed up. Also, if I leave this in here and just let it sit there for a long time, it will eventually get really, really hard, because it will absorb more and more water. So here's one that sat in there for a long, long time in a different one, probably over a day. And it is really, really hard. If I tore this, there probably isn't any goo left inside. So go ahead and play around with that until you run out of your stuff. But that is how you make instant worms. And if you want to do more of this, if you look online, there's all sorts of different types. They've got glow-in-the-dark ones. They've got all sorts of different types of worms that you can make. Okay, let's move on to our next experiment. We are going to make an exploding bag. So what we're going to need, in your kit, you will have a cup with baking soda, a cup with vinegar, and you will have a Kleenex. Now what I want you to do is, by the way, your stuff is pre-measured out, so you are ready to go. I'm going to measure this out. We're going to take about a tablespoon of baking soda. We're going to pour it right into this napkin, and I'm going to twist it up to make kind of like a little bomb there. So go ahead and do that, and I'm going to grab a baggie real quick. I'll be right back. Okay, are you guys ready? Now, I want you to take a baggie that you have and take your vinegar, which is about half a cup of vinegar. There we go. And I want you to pour it in the baggie. Now, by the way, this is a messier craft. Before we go any further, this one and the next one you might consider doing outside, just because of how messy they are. So if you need to, go ahead and pause the video and then head outside and do it out there. Okay, so now that we've done this, go ahead and close the bag, but leave one end open, like this. Because what you're going to do is you're going to take your little Kleenex balm here with all the baking soda. You're going to drop it in there. Go ahead and do that. And go ahead and seal the bag. And you can see it's already reacting. Go ahead and shake it up a little bit. And then just set it down on the table. And then we'll see what happens. Now while we're waiting, I'm going to explain that... Whoa! Oh, it already got it, did it? Okay, well, that was my exploding bag. So, what is happening here is that the vinegar is an acid, while the baking soda is a base. So when they combine, they make carbonic acid. Now, the thing about carbonic acid is it isn't stable, and it decomposes, or in other words, falls apart, and it almost immediately falls apart into water and carbon dioxide. Now, the carbon dioxide, it causes the bubbles. So what we have here is a chemical reaction. So you've probably seen something kind of like this, and that would be the Mentos in the Diet Coke experiment. But that's kind of the same idea. Speaking of which, I'm going to move this off to the side. Actually, it might blow up again. I just sealed it up. Let's see if it does. So, I'll give you a second to clean up your mess if you have made a mess. And if you guys are ready to go, we are going to do our last experiment. Now, it is Mentos and Diet Coke. I got a Pepsi one here. But we're going to do it a little differently. I'll move that off. I want you, in your bag, you're going to find a balloon. And I want you to take this balloon, and I want you to drop your Mentos inside. And it might take some work in it through there. Get in there. There we go. So you got 2 pieces of Mentos. I got slime all over that one. I'm gonna rub that off. There we go. Now what I want you to do is open your Diet Coke, Diet Pepsi, and you're going to take this part. Do not drop the Mentos inside. Leave them hanging in here because they should be in this part. And we're going to open this as much as we can, just like this. And I want you to put it over the top of the Pepsi. And I want you to cover it up just like that. Get on there as tight as you can. I'm going to warn you, and we might try to get the hole over the middle. I'm going to warn you, this could be a messy craft. If we're lucky, it'll keep everything in here. If your balloon comes off, you're going to have Diet Pepsi flying everywhere. So keep that in mind. You might want to do this outside. Now, we're going to blow up this balloon by dropping the Mentos inside. So are you guys ready? All right. And I might grab the camera to get a better angle. So I want you to lift this up, and you're going to quickly squeeze the Mentos down into the opening. Ready? 1, 2, 3. There we go. I'm going to take this off. Woo! They get them in there. So there we go. Now, some of these might work better than others. I tried this with some, and these got really, really big, and while others got a little small like this one. So what did yours do? Did yours blow up a lot, or did it blow up a little bit? And do you think the difference between Diet Pepsi and Diet Coke is a big deal? Some people think so. So now the question is, what is happening here? Why is this doing this? Well, the answer is that those Mentos, I'm going to grab my notes because I want to make sure I get this right. But basically, the soda contains carbon dioxide. This is just like the last experiment where it blew up the bag. But the soda has carbon dioxide, which is what makes it bubbly. Now, the surface of the Mentos, the candy, it is actually covered in all these tiny little pits. And I'm going to shake this up a little bit, see if that helps. Now it's making noise. That might not be good. So, the Mentos is covered in all these little tiny pits called nucleation sites. And each little pit is where the carbon dioxide bubble can form and escape. So what ends up happening is you have millions of tiny bubbles that are formed, and then they get let go, they get released in a short period of time. And because of that, the Mentos will sink to the bottom, and then the rapid release of gas from the bottom comes up, and that creates that fountain that you normally see. Now, because we put the balloon on there, that gas has nowhere to escape. It's not going out into the air. It goes into the balloon, which is what blows it up. And if you want to, try this experiment at home with some more. Go to the store, get some Mentos, try some different sodas. This was Diet Pepsi, but try Diet Coke. Try, Diet Sprite if there's Diet Sprite. Try Diet Dr. Pepper. See which ones work better for you, because they all have different effects. So thank you guys for listening. I hope you guys enjoyed this. I hope you had fun with the experiments. And we'll be back again with our next homeschool online class. And in the meantime, please check out our calendar and see what we have coming up. So thank you, and see you later. Bye.